Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today is all about making your exercise routine progressively more challenging, taking an exercise or a set of exercises and looking for small progressive ways to make that exercise or that set of exercises just a little bit more challenging. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify if you need to, rest whenever you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class coming into a supine position. Make your way down onto the mat. Bend your knees, connect the soles of your feet to the mat as if you were setting yourself up for a bridge line. Make sure that the feet are not too far away from the body. In a moment, we will be articulating up into a bridge line. So bring the feet in a little bit closer to your bum so that at the apex of your bridge, you have your knees and your ankles aligned. For the first set of exercises, you're going to relax your hands, palms down into the mat. Make sure that you're pushing or pressing softly through the pads of your hands, as well as making your shoulder blades nice and heavy into the mat. For the first exercise, you're not going to see much. You need to listen to the voice cues. Start with a neutral spine position, a little space between your lower back and the mat. Inhale to prepare. On the exhale, you're going to tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position, just to be able to imprint your lower and your mid back into the mat. Your bum and your tailbone are still connected to the mat. Hold that contraction, core is nicely braced, and then release everything back to neutral. Let's do that 5 times. Find neutral spine, tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back, keep your tailbone and your bum cheeks on the mat, keep that contraction in the core, hold it, release back to neutral. Tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back, keep your bum and your tailbone on the mat. Hold the contraction in the core, shoulders nice and heavy into the mat, chin relaxed down towards your chest, so there's no strain in your jaw. Release everything back to neutral. Tilt to 12 o'clock, scoop, imprint, hold. Release back to neutral. Last time, tilt to 12 o'clock, press softly through the pads of your feet, squeeze the inner thighs together, find that contraction, make sure you're not lifting your tailbone or your bum off the mat. Release everything back to neutral. Let's add one more progression. Begin in neutral spine. Tilt your pelvis to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back, and then start to peel your tailbone off the mat and stop when you hit your bottom rib. So it just feels like your bum cheeks are just hovering an inch or a millimeter off the mat. Hold that contraction and relax everything back to neutral. Let's do that 4 more times. Find neutral spine. As you tilt, push into your feet, press into your hands, make your shoulders nice and heavy, just lifting the tailbone off the mat and stopping when you hit your bottom rib. Keep that contraction in the core. Relax everything back to neutral. Tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back, begin to peel your tailbone off the mat, stop when you hit your bottom rib, hold. Shoulders are nice and heavy, chin is relaxed down towards your chest, strong contraction in the core. Release everything back to neutral. Tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back, begin to peel your tailbone off, stop when you hit your bottom rib and hold. Hold back line nice and heavy into the mat. Release back to neutral. One last time. Till to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back. Begin to peel your tailbone off the mat. Stop when you hit your bottom rib. Relax everything back down to neutral. Let's progress into a bridge articulation using what we have already been playing with. Begin in neutral spine. Tilt your pelvis to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back. Begin to peel your tailbone off the mat and then keep peeling as if you were curling your tailbone in towards your belly button. Start to curl the spine off the mat, one vertebra, one rib at a time. Floating your hips up towards the sky, ending nice and high on the shoulder blades and pausing here at the apex of your bridge. Looking for a nice stretch through the belly, through the tops of your thighs, reaching long through your kneecaps while rooting through the feet and squeezing the energy between the inner thighs together, keeping your arms long and heavy on the mat. Then articulate back down, leading with the back of your ribs, so starting between the two shoulder blades, coming down one rib, one vertebra at a time. Don't rush your descent, almost hollowing out your belly and rounding out your back before tilting your whole pelvis back into your neutral starting position. Let's do that 4 more times. Tilt, scoop and imprint, peel your tailbone off, pause, and then keep leading with the tailbone, almost making a shrimp-like shape with your tailbone as you begin to peel your spine and your ribs off the mat, floating up nice and high. Arms are relaxed at your side, shoulders heavy into the mat, pressing softly through the pads of your hands. Peel softly back down to the mat, working with your breath. You can always experiment with your inhalation and exhalation cycle, but keep your breath flowing. Tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint, curl your tailbone off, pause, then keep leading with the tailbone as you articulate up. Pausing at the apex of your bridge, looking for that length through the kneecaps. And then articulating back down with the same amount of care that you bled up. Tilt to 12 o'clock, find that imprint, begin to curl the tailbone, pause. Then start to peel the rest of your spine and your ribs off the mat. As you articulate up into the full bridge line, make sure you activate your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, your lower belly. One more time like this. Working with care, not rushing the going up or the going down action. Tilting with care, looking for that control through the spine and the core. Trying to keep your pelvis as stable as you can. So you're trying to pretend that you've got a little spirit level floating between your two hip bones, and that spirit level stays even the whole time as you're floating up and as you're coming back down. So there's no side to side tilt as you're bleeding up and down. All right, let's come up one more time. Let's hold the line and let's begin to play. Articulate up into your bridge line, focusing on that pelvic stability. So trying to keep your spirit level as even as you can. You're going to give me a little marching bridge. You're going to float one leg up to 90, keeping even through the pelvis. As you float one leg up to 90 while grounding through the other foot, trying to keep the height of your bridge as best you can and trying not to drop through the pelvis. So keeping your hips even on both sides. Visualize that little spirit level between your two hip bones and try to keep it as even as you can. Keep your chin line soft and relaxed. Your arms are heavy into the mat. Then ground both feet into the mat and articulate back down to your start position. As soon as you reconnect to the mat, Roll over onto one side and make an almost soft banana-like frame with your body. So you're bumping the hips slightly back and your arms and your legs are slightly forward. You're hovering your legs off the mat and your core is contracted. You're going to hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Come onto your back. Give you that same hollow shape. So your lower and your mid back is imprinted. Your feet and your arms are off the mat and you're holding for 10. Almost as if somebody had thrown a beach ball at your belly and you've gone oof around the ball. Now roll over onto side 2, trying to keep that same hollow frame and hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Float onto your back. Bend the knees. Connect the soles of your feet. We're coming into a dead bug. You're going to float the left leg into table. You're going to push up with the knee, and at the same time, you're going to press down with your palm. On the opposite side of the body, you're going to float the arm and the leg off the mat. And then you're going to begin changing sides. Actively bending one knee and pressing hand to knee. And on the other side, extending and trying to hover the two limbs off the mat. Your head and your shoulders stay connected to the mat. Make sure that you're not hugging the knee in towards your chest, but rather pushing and resisting so that you feel a fair amount of work south of your belly button. Actively push, or rather exhale as you push and resist, and then inhale to transition. End in a double dead bug, pressing both the knees up towards your nose while pressing down with your hands, and hold for a further 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Ground your feet into the mat. Relax the arms at your side. Begin in neutral spine. Tilt your pelvis to 12 o'clock. Imprint your lower and your mid back. Keep your tailbone and your bum on the mat as you curl your chest off the mat. Lock your torso into position. Inhale for a slow count of 5 as you raise the arms up in line with your knee. And then exhale for a slow count of 5 as you bring it down. This is a modified 100. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Feel softly back down to the mat and think of the first pelvic tilt that we did. For our first round, we had our arms on the mat. This time, we're going to float the arms overhead. Fingertips are reaching for the sky. You're going to drop and weight your shoulders into the mat, and you're going to keep them weighted as we play with the same set of exercises. Begin first with just the pelvic tilt, tilting to the 12 o'clock position while keeping your tailbone and your bum on the mat. Release back to neutral. We're going to do 5 of them. Tilt to hold. Bum cheeks and tailbone are still on the mat. Release to neutral. Tilt to 12 o'clock. Hold. Release to neutral. You're looking for that control through the core the whole time. All right, let's work the next progression. We're going to lift the tailbone off. So as you tilt to 12 o'clock, you begin to peel your tailbone off. You stop when you hit your bottom rib and your bum feels like it's hovering just a few millimeters off the floor, and then release back to neutral. Tilt, bum and tailbone just hovering off the mat. Release back to neutral. 2 more like this before we come into the full bridge articulation. Keeping your fingertips reaching for the sky and your shoulder blades nice and heavy into the mat. Relax your neck and your jawline. Next round, we're going to peel up into the bridge line. Begin to tilt to the 12 o'clock position. Peel your tailbone off the mat. Stop at your bottom rib. And then continue the articulation, curling your tailbone in towards your belly button line, keeping your shoulders nice and heavy into the mat, while the fingertips stay reaching for the sky with a relaxed chin up. Pause, then articulate back down. The arms stay floating overhead the whole time. Tilt to 12 o'clock, imprint your lower and your mid back. Pause, curl your tailbone off. Pause. Start to peel the rest of your spine and your ribs off the mat and come into full articulation. Pause at the apex of your bridge. Look for that length through the knees. Bleed back down with the same amount of care that you went up. Moving mindfully and with your breath. Tilt, hold. Peel your tailbone off, hold. Now peel the rest of your spine and your ribs off as you peel up. Fingertips stay reaching for the sky, shoulders nice and heavy into the mat. Lean back down. Tilt to 12 o'clock, pause. Curl your tailbone off, pause. Peel the rest of your spine and your ribs off the mat. Find your bridge line, focus on that pelvic stability as you come into the little marching bridge. Lifting one foot off the mat at a time, trying to keep as stable as you can through the pelvis. Trying to keep the height of your bridge as best you can. If you find that floating the arms is too challenging, you can come back into position 1 and place your hands palms down on the mat. Let's do one more march to each side and then we'll find that side hollow hold. Articulate back down. Only once you've reconnected your whole spine to the mat and you're back in neutral do you float the hands overhead as you float onto your side and find that hollow frame. So brace through the core, find that hollow shape and hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, roll onto your back, find that hollow frame and hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, roll onto side 2. Keep that same hollow frame for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, onto your back, find that hollow frame for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, roll onto side 1, hold, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, onto your back, hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, side 2, hold, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, last one on the back, hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, bend your knees, connect the soles of your feet to the mat and prepare for your dead bug. One knee up to 90, push and resist, hover and hold your other limbs long off the mat and begin to cycle through, bending and pressing on one side while extending and hovering on the other side, keeping your shoulders and your head connected to the mat, chin line soft and relaxed. Last one, double dead bug hold, push to resist, see if you can scoop to peel up off the shoulders, looking towards your belly as you hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Relax your arms and your feet to the mat, coming back into your bridge-like setup. We're going to work our slow 100. Begin in neutral spine, tilt to the 12 o'clock position. Imprint your lower and your mid-back. Keep your bum and your tailbone off the mat as you peel your chest and your ribs off the mat, imprinting your lower and your mid-back, finding that strong contraction. Lock your trunk into position and inhale for a slow count of 5, raising your arms up in line with your knees, and exhale for 5 to come back to your start position. Let's do 2 more like this, and then we'll bring it into a little L drop. And as you complete the last one, relax your head, your shoulders, and your arms to the mat. Keeping your arms at your side or tucking your hands palms down underneath your bum and forging a little diamond frame of support for your lower back, or you could use your hand towel if you prefer. You're going to float one leg up to 90 and the other leg up to 90. You're going to give me a drop on the right, either halfway or all the way down to hovering and back to your start position. We're going to complete 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You're going to end in the L frame. You're going to scoop to peel up off the shoulders, hovering your arms off the mat, hovering your bottom leg off the mat, and hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Float softly back down to your start position and begin your single drops on the other side, either halfway and back or all the way down to hovering just off the floor and back. Let's do 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You're going to end in the L frame. You're going to scoop to peel up off your shoulders and hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Tuck both hands behind your head, float both legs up to 90, and start to work an alternating scissoring pattern, either small or big, mimicking that L frame that you played with previously. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, bend your knees, reconnect the soles of your feet, bring your head, your shoulders, and your arms back to the mat. Keep your left foot grounded and float your right leg up to the sky. With your big toe, you're going to trace a teardrop clockwise. So you're going to think drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. Let's do 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, we're going to repeat on the left. Ground your right foot, float the left leg up to the sky. Trace your teardrop clockwise. You're going to think drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, we're going to come back to our scissor. We're going to scoop to peel up off the shoulders, holding anywhere along the back chain of the nearest leg that you can, and you're going to begin scissoring your legs, either small or big. 10, 9, hold that scoop position so your lower and your mid back is imprinted, weight off the shoulders. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, the last one, bend your knees, connect the soles of your feet to the mat, and float your right leg up to the sky. Trace the teardrop. This time you're moving anti-clockwise. Drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, we're going to change sides. Ground your right leg, float your left leg to the sky. Tracing, anti-clockwise. Drop, swing, catch. Drop, swing, catch. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Last 2, then we'll come back into those scissors. Extend one leg to the sky, scoop to peel up off your shoulders. Grasp anywhere along the back chain of the nearest leg. Open up the other leg into V and begin scissoring in, playing small or big. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, rock up into a seated position and prepare for seal. You're going to bend your knees, allowing them to flop out to the side of the room as if you were coming into a butterfly with the soles of your feet softly together. Then you're going to feed your hands underneath your ankles so that you can rest the weight of your foot or the weight of your ankle into the palm of your hand. You're going to make sure that you've got runway to play behind you, so maybe wriggle yourself towards the front end of the mat. Then tip the weight off your tailbone and come into a floating butterfly. Either staying here, just focusing on drawing up from your pelvic floor towards your waistline to keep that almost boat-like line, or you can start to play with a little roll, hollowing out your belly, rounding out your back, rocking as far as your shoulders and back up. Maybe give yourself 3 rocks like this. And if that feels good, try 1 tap before you roll back. Tap. If that feels good, give me a tap before you roll and a tap before you come back. So 1 tap before you roll back, and then a tap overhead before you come back to your start position. Looking for that balance and that control through your core. If that feels good, try 3 taps, 1 before you roll back and 1 before you come back up. So 1, 2, 3, rock back, 1, 2, 3, roll back up, 1, 2, 3, go back, 1, 2, 3, come up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's do 1 more, and then we'll change our orientation and we'll come into a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Make sure that you've got enough room behind you so that you can extend the legs. Open up your hands nice and wide so there's lots of space between the fingers. Palms are stacking underneath your shoulders with your knees stacking underneath your hip points. Think of that spirit level that we played with earlier on when we were in a supine position. Find a spirit level between your 2 shoulder blades and between your 2 hip points. So you try not to dip on either side of your body. The weight bearing stays equal on both sides of your spine. If you need to, you can open up the hands a little bit wider than shoulder width apart so that you can equally disperse your body weight. You're going to start by hovering your left knee off the floor. Slide the big toe along the mat and float the leg up into table without popping and rotating through the shoulders and the hips, and then float back to your start position. We're going to do 5 on this side And you're going to stop every time the knee is alongside its partner, hovering in table. You're not going to hyperextend when you come up. So you're stopping when the leg is in line with your hip. You're not dropping your head through the tabletop line, so you're trying to keep that length through the spine. Let's change sides. Slide the right leg into extension, float it up into table. Tap back out to the mat and slowly draw back into hovering table. Stable through the shoulders, stable through the hips. No popping, no rotating. Belly button stays softly pulled into center, so there are no muffin top bellies hanging on the floor. And your spinal line stays as long as you can, so don't drop the head as you get tired. Draw back to neutral, peel up into a high kneeling frame, and let's bring it into some camel leans. Kneel nice and tall with your shoulders, your hips, and your knees in a long line, and relax the hands to the top of your thighs. Peel off the center line, pausing here, floating your arms up to about shoulder height, and then inhale to softly come back. Give me 5 slow. Peel back to your start position. Try to hang just off the center line. Look for that work through the top of your thighs and the lower belly before you float back to your start position. Last one. All right. Come back into your 4-point kneeling position on the mat. We're going to begin the next exercise where we ended the last one. So hover your left knee off the floor and float the leg up into table. Lock that line into position. You're going to bend at the elbows, maybe halfway, and back to your start position. Or maybe you can bring yourself all the way down to tap your chin to the floor before you come back to your start position. And we're going to do 5. Keep hugging your elbows in to center, so you really feel that loading through the bicep and the tricep. Keeping as stable as you can through the shoulders and the hips. Once you've done 5 on one side, you're going to change sides. Stable as you can through the shoulders and the hips. Bend the elbows, hug them in towards your ribs. And if the floor is not your friend, then just give me a small little bend, pause, and come back to your start position. Exhaling as you come down, inhaling as you peel back up to your start position. Those arms should be burning. Once you've done 5 on each side, you're going to peel back up into your high kneeling frame, but this time you're going to tuck your toes under. You're going to keep them tucked under so that you're working into the arches of your feet. And we're going to play with that off-center camel lean. Lean off the center line, pause. Float one arm up, bring it back. Float the other arm up, bring it back. Come back to your start position. Float off the center line, lock it in position. Float one arm alongside your ear, bring it back. Float the other arm alongside your ear, bring it back. Come back to your start position. Peel off the center line, pause. One arm up, bring it back. Other arm up, bring it back. Bring it down. Peel off the center line, lock. One arm up, bring it back. Other arm up, bring it back. One last time. Float off the center line, pause. One arm alongside your ear, bring it back. Other arm alongside your ear, bring it back. Come back down to 4-point kneeling. We're going to clip the last 2 movements together. Set up your 4-point kneeling frame, hands maybe just a little bit wider than hip width distance apart. Remember, don't drop your head as you get tired. Try to keep that long line through your spine. Hover your left knee off the floor. Extend the leg behind you. Give me a bend through the elbows coming into your oil rigger and back up. Then draw the knee back to your start position. We're going to do 5 like this. Extending the leg, bending through the elbows, draw the knee back to table. Try to have the weight bearing as equal as you can have it on your 3 points of contact on the mat. Make sure that you're hugging your elbows in towards the center line, almost as if you were trying to kiss your ribs. Peel back to start, and let's do the same on side 2. Hover your right knee off the floor, extend the leg behind you, bend through the elbows for your oil rigger, And then draw the knee back into hovering table. Find a gentle rhythm of your own, making sure that you're keeping that neckline as long and as lengthened as you can when you're in the tabletop line. Keeping your belly button pulled in to center. Last one. As you complete your last one, you're going to ground both knees into the floor. You can float the toes off, or rather the feet and the toes off the mat if you like. And you're going to give me a little double oil rigger, shooting for 5 if you can. The arms should be burning. Then bring it all the way down onto the belly for the last one. As you connect to the mat, legs are long and relaxed in parallel. Extend the arms ahead of you, palms looking down into the mat. Your legs are relaxed into the mat behind you. Connect your forehead to the mat. Keep your right palm at the top of your left foot, pressing into the mat while floating the opposite arm and leg. So left arm, right leg off the mat. Stay here, pushing actively into your 2 grounding limbs for 5, 4, 3, 2. Change it up. Push through your left palm and your right foot and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that once more on each side. Press and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. Change sides. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Float everything softly down to the mat and then give me a small little Superman hover. Hovering your nose, your arms, and your legs just off the mat. Trying to tap the wall in front and the wall behind. Then soften your whole body and relax into the mat. Think of the previous movement. So opposite arm and leg pressing actively into the mat. Let's do right palm and left foot pressing into the mat. Then start to peel your chest off the mat as well, looking up higher, just maybe to the skirting ahead of you, giving me more of a bow shape into the back as you hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. Peel back down and then change sides, pressing left palm, right foot into mat as you peel up higher off the chest and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2. Peel back down one more on each side, actively pressing into the mat with the 2 grounding limbs. Change sides. 5, 4, 3, 2. Float softly back down to the mat. Relax your arms and your legs. Coming into a little Superman hold. Hover your whole body for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then start to work a slow swim. Tapping opposite arm and leg to the mat while keeping your chest and your head floating just off the mat. Slow swim for 5. And then rapid swim for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Slow swim, opposite arm and leg pressing into the mat. Make sure it's opposite arm and leg. You might have lost your orientation when you were doing the rapid fire swim, so just change. Then rapid fire swim for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Float everything back down to the mat. Roll over onto your back, setting yourself up in a supine position. Bend your knees, connect the soles of your feet to the mat and just give your lower back a little rest into the mat. Then inhale to float your right leg up to the sky, maybe holding behind your thigh. Maybe interlacing the hands, making a little lattice of support for your leg. You're actively pulling with the palms of your hands towards your chest line, and at the same time, you're pushing with the back of your leg. Actively brace into your foot. So think right toes to nose, right heel to the ceiling. Then change sides. Left leg going up to the sky, find your interlace, pull with your palms towards your chest, and at the same time resist with the back of your leg, so the hamstring nice and heavy into that little basket that you created with your hands. Keep your feet active, think toes to nose, heel to the sky. Let's change sides. Coming back to side one, and this time if you can, using your middle index finger and thumb, to take a little big toe lock, or if you've got a strap or a hang towel, you can just loop it over the foot. You're going to give me an A-line stretch. Maybe your support hand is softly in T, or you can relax it at your side. Try to make both shoulders nice and heavy into the mat, so it feels like the whole back of your rib cage is nice and heavy into the mat. And open up that leg to the side of the room while you look in the opposite direction. For the first one, keep your support leg bent. Inhale to come back to center. Now try to extend both legs. Keep the back of those ribs nice and heavy into the mat. Then open up into a beeline stretch, the leg opening up to the side of the room while you float your head in the opposite direction, trying to keep yourself anchored on the left shoulder and the left bum cheek. As you bring your right leg back to 90, bend the knee. Start drawing across the midline. As you draw across the midline, bump the hips underneath you to the right so that you can get more rotation through the hips. Maybe using the fingertips of your left hand to just gently push down on the knee and draw over as far as you can in the supine twist. Let your lower back be your guide as to how far to take the twist. Your knee is moving in one direction and your head is moving in the opposite direction. Then float softly back to neutral. As your feet touch the mat, bump your hips back into neutral, hug both knees in towards your chest, and cradle rock your lower back out. Then ground both feet into the mat. Take your left leg up to the sky. Maybe taking a big toe lock or using your strap or your hand towel. You can T-shape your support arm. Just pause here for a moment, making both shoulders nice and heavy into the mat. Trying to extend and open up the back chain of your left leg. Open up the leg to the side of the room while you float your head into the opposite direction. For the first one, keep your support leg grounded. Come back towards the midline. Maybe beginning to extend your support leg. Try to make the back of your ribs nice and heavy into the mat as you find your first, or rather your second A-line stretch. Then big breath in. On the exhale, open up that leg to the side of the room while trying to ground through your opposite shoulder and bum. Make the back of those ribs nice and heavy into the mat. Ease your way back to the center line. Bend your left leg. As you start to draw the knee across the midline, bump the hips to the left so that you get more rotation, stacking the left hip on top of the right. Maybe you're taking your right fingertips and using them to just gently coax that top knee a little bit closer to the floor. Move mindfully. Let your lower back be your guide. Make sure your knee is traveling in one direction and your head is traveling in the opposite direction. Bleed your way softly back to neutral. Make sure you bump your hips back into neutral. Hug both knees in towards your chest. Cradle rock your lower back out. And then maybe coming to a nice supine stretch Holding neutral spine while you reach as long as you can through your fingertips and your toes, really trying to stretch out through the hips and give me the flattest belly that you can. Then maybe hugging your knees into your chest and rocking up to take a nice little nod to end off your playtime on the mat for today. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. Hope you enjoyed today's class. Until next time, keep it light.